The last two webinars, we focused on data entry and how to use the map itself. And so this one is going to focus on how to use the new features that really put the power of the database into the user's hands. So in IMAP 2, you've probably contacted us a lot because I know a lot of you have used it quite a bit. You know, every time you need a new accounts made or new projects or updates to your organization and so forth, you would have to go through us to be able to do all that stuff. But now with IMAP 3, we've made it so that a lot of these logistical functions can be done by you. And so, you know, that really cuts down on a lot of the email back and forth and the calls. I mean, of course, we're always here. If you ever have questions, you can definitely always email us or call us for support. But you know, in order to get a lot of those little things done, it's helpful for you to be able to do it yourself. And you know, the Invasive Species Network has really grown over the last decade, and so this is a great step in empowering our partners to be able to take on managing their organizations and their projects themselves within iMapInvasives. All right, so just a reminder, hopefully most of you were able to attend one of the two earlier webinars that iMapInvasives just launched, or the 3.0 just launched in April of 2019, so a little over a month ago. And more features are coming soon. We did an initial launch with the data entry and some of the logistical and administrative functions and basic viewing of the map. But the more things will be coming out this summer, such as the email alerts and the queries and so forth. So you can be watching for a webinar later down the road for that. And in order to kind of give you guys a framework of the user roles, I needed to kind of back up and give you a framework of the system itself and how that works. And I've tried to simplify it. We have a lot of programming that has gone on behind the scenes with iMapInvasives to make sure all the permissions work out well and who is seeing data, is seeing the data that's supposed to, and if you're not supposed to see the data, you don't. So there's a lot of programming logic in there. But the simplistic view of this is shown here on the screen. So essentially in that top left-hand corner, we have the entire system of iMapInvasives, and this spans many states and provinces. It's managed by NatureServe, which is the umbrella organization for all the natural heritage programs, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a natural heritage program that they're working with to help manage the entire system. But also keep in mind that there's, regardless of whether a state or a province is like an official partner of iMapInvasives, they can still do a lot of things within the system. So if you're traveling outside of New York, you can now enter data in other states, which is new and great because we have what they're calling the America's View for the iMapInvasive system. And within that system, there are jurisdictions. So these are the official members within the IMAP system. And so New York is one of these. We use iMapInvasives to manage our state data. And there's a number of other states that also do this. And so we have a lot of additional features within iMapInvasives that we wouldn't otherwise have if our state wasn't officially joined on within the partnership. So the New York Natural Heritage Program does manage the New York jurisdiction. And then within the jurisdiction, we have organizations. And that's many of you. You're part of, a state agency or a not-for-profit or maybe a friends group of a local lake. There can be many different levels of organization within the system, and this is really where we're going to focus a lot of the webinar today. And then that pink box is the IMAP number, or the user of IMAP. So that's you. That you can be anywhere submitting data if you'd like, and you can fall within the categories that you see above. And so within the organization, we also have different roles, and I'm going to get into this and show you how to do these. We have administrators and members of organizations. So many of you on the call may fall into that role of an organizational admin. And actually, I took a peek at the registration beforehand, and some of the names I recognized, and I went ahead and made you organizational admins. as we go through this, if you realize that you would like to have this role for your organization, then please let us know. You can chat Meg or the group or email us afterwards, and we'll have our contact information. And there's also opportunities to create projects within iMapInvasives. You no longer have to contact us as the Natural Heritage Program to create the projects for you. You can create them yourselves, either as a personal project or as one tied to your organization. And then within each of those projects, you can also have an administrative role or a membership role. And then just going into some of the different permissions that go along with these different roles. So that pink box, the everywhere, everyone and everywhere, the IMAP member, has, this is when you can create your, say if you create a new account from the website, you sign up, or if you had a membership from IMAP 2 and it carried over, you're able to enter, view, and now export presence records and not detected records. And so that gives you a lot of power at your fingertips. Before, you had to let us know if you needed an account created, and we would create it for you, but now you can automatically do that yourself. And if you haven't created your account yet or accessed iMapInvasives from your IMAP 2 account, please view the webinar recording of the first webinar of the basics, or look on our website. We have some help documentation on getting you access to the database for the first time. There are a couple little tricks that you have to do if your account was migrated over. As a regular IMAP member, you can also view treatment records. This is the basics of the treatments, so the who, what, where, when, essentially, but not necessarily the detailed, say, like chemical application or things like that. And you can also create personal projects. And so that's your default account when you first sign up using that form. Once you become affiliated with an organization within the iMapInvasives framework, you get all those permissions, but then you also have additional permissions tacked on. So now you can create treatment records within your jurisdiction. So within New York, if you're affiliated with an organization, you can also view the detailed treatment records for your organization and download those treatments as well. And then once you are an organizational admin, then there's also additional permissions such as assigning members to your organization. So you can scroll through the IMAP user list and find people that you need to add in there, or take people out of your organization. When we migrated all these accounts over, there was there's been a history over the last 10 years of people being added to organizations, and over time, some of those people have left and taken other jobs. And so we've been asking organizational leaders to go ahead and clean up their staff list within their organization. And I'll show you how to do that as well. You can download your organization's data, including the unconfirmed records and the treatments. And that last one is a big one. You can edit and confirm the data from your organization until it's confirmed. So, if you have staff that are entering data into your, on behalf of your organization, then you can get in there and you can edit their records to fix things up. Perhaps they got the species wrong. You can go in there and make those changes for them. All right, and then there are a couple of additional roles that we as the jurisdictional admins can add on to any user's account. And so one thing that's very new and that we're excited about is the taxonomic confirmer role. And so we can assign this either at an organizational level or for the entire state. This means that, say, if you are an expert on aquatic plants, you feel very comfortable confirming aquatic plants, we can check the box that allows you now to confirm anyone else's records for aquatic plants. And then there's also the confidential data viewer, and there are types of records within IMAP that are considered confidential, either by species or by location, by that individual record. There can be various reasons. You can actually set any of your own records to confidential, but once you do, those disappear from view, and they will disappear from your view as well unless you're a confidential data viewer. And we do have a very limited number that we're assigning to this role at the state level, so mostly within the state agencies. So keep that in mind as well. All right, and I can show this slide again at the end. This has some of our websites with help documents. The national iMapInvasives.org/help has a lot of documents, and then also our NY iMapInvasives.org. And then we always have our help desk open, the iMapInvasives at dec.ny.gov. All right, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the website. This is our nyimappinvasives.org website, probably where you got the information about the training and you registered for that. So there's a lot of different tabs there that are very helpful. But I'm going to go straight over to the login button. And this is where you'll sign up. Hopefully you've already signed up before and logged in successfully. And if you have, feel free to go ahead and log in so you can follow along, or you can just watch as I do it. All right. And those first two webinars, as I mentioned, went through the basics of how to enter data using that create record, how to navigate the map. You know, we have lots of navigation tools on the left-hand side, and we have the basic species filters that are on right now. So all of that information you can access from our website, and you can always touch base with us later if you have any questions about that. But what I'm going to focus on for this webinar is all housed up in this icon, the menu icon, up in the upper right-hand corner where that leaf is.
Left hand.
I'm sorry, yes, thank you. Left-hand corner. That's why I have my tech support in the room here. Keep my in there, right? All right, so when you click on that menu bar, you'll see a lot of different options in there. We did touch on the species list, the jurisdiction network species list in the last webinar. But this time we're going to be focusing on projects, organizations, and your accounts. And so the first thing I'm going to do is go to your account, or you can follow along as well if you're already logged in. And I know I did touch on this on the last webinar, but it's just important to mention again, is that you want to check things within your account, because this is really like what we're basing those permissions off of with the programming. So you can see that your username is your email address that you're using. Your home jurisdiction should say New York if that's what you've chosen. Your primary organization should be the organization that you would like your data tagged to by default whenever you enter it. You are able to be a member of multiple organizations, so you can toggle back and forth between that if you'd like. There's additional information that you can fill in. But if I scroll down, this is where I get to where I can see what kind of permissions I would have. So I can see that I am actually the admin of one project. I am the admin of one organization, the New York Natural Heritage Program. I can see this little green checkbox. I can confirm terrestrial plants for the New York Natural Heritage Program data that comes in. And if I scroll down to the bottom, there's this jurisdictional privileges. And for New York, you can see that I'm a member of New York, and this essentially allows me to see the treatment details for all the treatments across the state. So if you are working at a statewide level, you can request that. We will also, this is where I can assign, as a jurisdictional admin, I can assign you to be a confirmer for these different taxonomic groups. And you can see we have terrestrial animal, aquatic animal, terrestrial plant, aquatic plant, and microorganism. So what I'm going to do is scroll back up to the top, and on the upper right-hand side, we have the little edit button, which you'll see in a lot of screens throughout the system. You can edit the record, and you can make any changes that you need to. Like you could toggle between the different organizations if you have multiples to see which one you want to you want it to be the default when you enter data. You can fill in your state if it hasn't been filled in yet, or any other information you want. But then this is where, by being in edit mode, this is where I can toggle or request different joins, like either to an organization or to a project. And so I'm going to request to join a project here. So I have New York defaults because that's my home jurisdiction, but you can select from other states if you want to. For my project, let's see, I'm going to do a test project that I have. I'm going to request to join this test 1.95. So I queued it up, and now I'm going to hit request to join. And now you're going to see that that project appears in my list, but it says that it's pending. And it's pending because now the admin for that project needs to accept me. That person has received an email now. There's an automatic email. So anytime that you're an admin for a project, if somebody requests to join it, you will be receiving that email saying that this person has requested to join your project, and please accept them if you want them in your project. And of course, you can also do the same for organizations. You could, queue up a new organization if you want. I'm not going to do that right at this moment, but know that that's an option there. If you don't see your organization listed, then please let us know. Send us an email, and we'll check to see if maybe it's hiding under a different name or if it's something that we can add into the database. All right, so I have requested an account. I made a couple little edits, changes on my profile. I got to remember to hit save, and so that's up at the top. I say that because even a month later, I'm still forgetting sometimes and wondering where my changes went. All right, so now I'm going to go back to that menu in the upper left and go over to projects. We're going to start with projects and then build our way up to the organizations. So if I click on projects, you'll see a list of 419 projects within New York. I can search by the title. So let's see if I went CCE for Cornell Cooperative Extension. You'll see that there are 5 different projects that are listed with the name, with that text string CCE in it. And this is just a good reminder that, going forward, now that everyone can create their own projects and their own titles, we want to make sure that they're useful titles. So maybe have the name of your organization within that title, or just some key identifiers so that as people are searching for projects to join, they'll be able to find yours if you want it to be found for them. All right, another thing you can do, I'm going to clear out that search box, is there's this toggle between all projects and your projects. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle that, and I can see that I have my one project that I'm an admin for, which was already in my user list, and then the project that I just requested to join, this test one. So I can click on that and see what's going on. You can see that my other account, my other personality, I guess, is a member of that, and that it is pending. So that request is pending, waiting for my alter ego to go to my email and check it and accept it. All right, so I'm going to go back to the project. I guess, actually, one other thing I wanted to show you. So that was the one that I was pending on. If I go to my, the project that I'm actually an admin for already, we can see other things that are going on. So you can, let's see, maybe I can make this a little bigger. I can see the basic info for my project. I can edit this as well. So I could change the name if I wanted to. It's helpful to have a little description in there so people know what kind of project you have. I can change the project lead on there if I want to. And one important thing is I can add members now. So I'm going to go ahead and use this Add Member button, and I'm going to add Meg to my project. So I just start typing in her name, and then you can see Meg Wilkinson pop in. I'm going to hit Add Member, and now she is in the list of my members for that project. You can see that I do have one pending, so this is a request that I made to myself to test it, and so now it's pending, but this is what it'll look like from your screen if you have a pending member. And so what you can do is change that role from pending to member Or you can make somebody an admin too. Like I could make Meg an admin for this project if I wanted to. And you can take people out. So this other Jennifer Dean, I don't want her in my project anymore. I'm just going to hit that X, and she goes away. So you can go ahead and you can save that, and then you've updated your project list. It's pretty easy to do. There is a, here I'll go ahead and edit again. There's a box for partner organizations, and this is to recognize other partners that are working on the project with you. It doesn't actually have programming associated with it, but it's a nice way to be able to be able to put other partners in there. And so you do need to select your jurisdiction first, and then your partner organization. So say if the Nature Conservancy was a partner organization on this, then I can select them and add them as a partner. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that, but I did save my new member list, and I'm going to go back to all the projects. And so that was working with existing projects that we have. So now I'm going to create a new project, starting from scratch, and there's this little button in the upper right to create a new project. And so if I go up there, I can create my own project in there. So just do another test one, testing IMAP 3 projects. All right, and I could put some kind of description here, some kind of text, and then I have myself as the project lead that defaults to it. You can put a start date in there, which is very helpful. And then there's this toggle here to either associate with my organization or keep it as an individual or personal project. So if I want to associate it with my organization, then it already has my state loaded up. I select this organization drop-down, and I only have one organization associated with this user account, so that's the one that it'll associate with. And once again, I could add members to my project. I could put in Meg again. And so now you have additional projects, or additional people added to your project. And of course, you want to save. So that will lock it in. And if you wanted to, you can test trying to add yourself to that project. You could try to find that project. So I did use NYNHP for the New York National Heritage Program as an easy way for me to find it in that list. So you can add yourself to any project one of two ways. You can either go to the project itself, right? So you can search for it in the project screen, and then you can request to join it, or you can go to your...
Where's the request to join? I didn't see it.
Oh, you know what? Here, let me click on one that, this is one that I'm not a member of, and so it will pop up in the upper right-hand corner to request to join the project. Or you can do it from your user account. So you can go back to your account, and then you can edit your account, and then request to join a project then, and then search for it in that box.
Thank you.
So once you're accepted into a project, or you've created your own project that you're now tagged to, all these projects will show up as options when you enter data, and whether it's on the app or on the computer. And also, once we do get the queries and email alerts built, then this will be very useful for filtering and organizing that data. All right, so a couple of key differences from IMAP 2 is that one is that records can be tied to more than one project. And so if you remember from IMAP 2, you could only have one project per record, which was a little frustrating sometimes if you had multiple projects and you just kind of wanted to keep track of those records. And so this is great. You can now, it's kind of similar to iNaturalist in the way that the projects are just used as ways to flag records, and each record can have lots of projects. And also, as a project lead, you can actually add projects to your add records to your project. So I'm going to go back here on the map and kind of zoom in to where I can see different records. And so if I click on a record, it'll bring up the box.
That's from us on last week.
Oh, we have some fake species on there. So let's say I want to grab this fake species record. I'm going to click on the details for that. And even though I don't have ownership per se of this record, since it's not in my organization, there's still the edit tool there just because I'm a project leader. And if I click that edit record, whoop, yeah, we can see it's a test record. I was in there, this was totally random. But what's editable now, here, actually at the top, I got distracted by the photo. The top, you can see that there's the confirmed box. So that is the key to confirming the record. It's pretty simple. You click the confirm or don't click the confirm. And then if I scroll down, the other, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm sorry. What I meant to show you is that I can tag it to my projects. The reason I can see the confirming was the next thing I was going to show you because I happened to click on a terrestrial plant. And I have myself set up as a confirmer of terrestrial plants. And so regardless of whether this was a terrestrial plant, I can still tag it to my project. And we'll go through the confirming bit here in just a moment. Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. But if you did want to tag it to your project, then you would do that and you hit save. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. All right. And go back to the map. All right. And so now we talked about projects. We talked about, grabbing records to put into your project. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the organizations. And so what I did was I went back to that icon and went to organizations, the organization menu here. And it looks very similar to the project menu, right? Like you can see the list of organizations. We have over 1,000 different organizations listed in New York. So one thing that's very helpful is to be able to toggle between all organizations and your organization if you just want to find yours very quickly. If I click on my organization or any of the organizations in there, you can see the list of users from that organization. So we have 31 members in the New York National Heritage Program. Of course, a couple of the admins are double counted because we have test accounts. And you can also see the number of projects that we have, and everything is linked back and forth, which is very helpful. I can edit this because I'm the admin. One thing I want to note is that right now you can edit the name of your organization, but please don't. We actually worked pretty hard to standardize the naming convention so that it works across all the different states. So we will actually lock that down. But if you ever need a change to your organization's name, just let us know, and we can get in there and do that for you. So if I go back to organizations, say if I click on one that I am not a member of, and you can see I can no longer see the email addresses. So I could only see the email addresses for the ones that I'm an admin of, just kind of another level of security. So I can, click on these, the people accounts, we call them, and just get basic information about that person. But I can't see any of the, the identifying characteristics, just to maintain that level of privacy. But you can see what projects are also there, and you can request to join the organization at that point. All right. So if I'm going to go back to my organization because I'm an admin, and I know a few of you on the phone are going to be admins of your organizations, just for a few things that you can do here. So you can search by name in here. So if I wanted to search for Meg, I can see her account there. I can see that she's an admin. If I click the little X, it takes the search off. Oh.
Somebody's joining, and if you can remember to mute, that'll help. Unless you're trying to ask a question, go ahead.
All right, and then you can also sort, by first name, last name, or the role. And the role is this admin versus member versus pending. If somebody was waiting to join our organization, you would see them as pending. And so I can edit, of course, once again, and I could change these roles. I could make somebody an admin or make them a member or X them out if I decided they're no longer in my organization. Maybe they've moved on to a different job. All right. So those are some of the basic administrative functions that you can do within your organization. I'm going to go ahead and head back out to the main organization table. And I'm going to show you just a couple more things that you can do on the map, and then we'll open it up to questions. Because if you remember, as an organizational admin, here I'll go back to the map here, you are able to fully edit your organizational members' records until they're confirmed. In IMAP 2, we did have that functionality where a project leader could confirm records, and that's no longer the functionality. So since you can, grab any records that you want to as a project leader, you no longer have editing abilities over those project records. So organization is now king, in a sense.
But the organization, even if you're not set up as a confirmer, a person can confirm, or only if you have to be the confirmer?
No, you have full editing rights as your organizational admin.
Within the organization?
Yes. Yeah, and until that record is confirmed. So you can confirm records even if you're not set as the taxonomic confirmer, but keep that in mind. If you don't feel comfortable with, certain species groups, you can always defer to us to the confirming. You can contact us and we will confirm those records for you. We do have a general rule of thumb to not confirm your own records. That's just a kind of a traditional quality control rule that's been around forever. So, if you've entered a bunch of records, maybe you feel very comfortable that it's the right species, but still, for quality control purposes, it makes more sense to have somebody else confirm those records. So you can always contact us to do that for you. All right, so I've gone back to the map, and I'm going to use the little crosshair tool to jump back to my location, which is pretty close. It's downtown Albany. Whenever you're on a Wi-Fi or a landline, it's not quite as accurate as your cell phone. But I'm going to show you, let's see, we have a bunch of records here around the DEC building where people have been entering. I'm going to click on this little pink, so this is an unconfirmed record up here downtown. And this is one from Steve Young for mugwort. And so if I want to look at the details of that record, I can do that. I can expand the little see more so that I can actually see the photo that he submitted, keeping in mind that the photo on the right is the reference photo, and the one here on the left is the one that he submitted. So I can, confirm that, yes, this is indeed mugwort. So I can go back to the record, and so he is in my organization, and so if I hit edit, I should have full editing rights to his record, and I do. So I can, of course, tag projects, but I can also actually fill in any of the information, or I can change the species as well. So there's this little pencil next to the species name, and I can use that to edit the species name. But for those of you who know Steve Young, you know that he probably got this mugwort correct because he is the state botanist. But I could fill in these other bits of information.
That intentional planting you might point out.
Oh, yeah, this is a new field, intentional planting, yes or no. We thought that this was important because there are some, records that go in that are, from a planting, but it might be the propagule source for nearby infestations. But it is important to point out, if it's intentional versus escaped. So I do want to confirm this. I checked the photo. I could also say ID by expert because Steve Young is an expert in that one, in plants. But I'm going to go ahead and say I verified this with the photo, and I'm going to, say verified by me. And so I can also put confirmation comments here, and this is a way to maybe communicate to the observer. So if I said, Steve, you need to submit a photo once you have flowers, or, you know, or I could say, for some of these species that we don't have, that we have a generic option for, like the honeysuckles, I could say, you know, that I switched it from the species level to the generic level because I didn't see flowers in the photo. So there's lots of information that you can put up in there. So I do want to go ahead and confirm this record. So I'm going to hit save. And now it's confirmed.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So what if someone hit confirmed and didn't say the confirm ID method?
It would still save it. It's not a required field, right? But we do encourage you to, if you are confirming records, to fill in those fields. I know you do have to scroll down to the bottom. Hopefully we can get them in a more obvious place at some point. But it's important information for quality control purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And so now if I hit edit, you can see actually those fields are no longer editable, those other fields that are in there, because I've confirmed the record. I can still tag it to my project. You can do that for any of the records in there, but
can't change them.
Yeah, once it's confirmed, then you will need to contact us if you need to make any changes to it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. I've already confirmed it, but I was just going to cancel adding it to my project. All right, and then just another example. So this was, you know, example of a record that was from my organization that I'm an admin for. So, you know, it started out with I had full editing rights of it. So I could change any of the information, and I could also change it to confirmed. But I also, you know, once I saved it, then it's more locked down. So if I go back to the map, so sorry, the webinar screen kind of locks my tabs. There we go. All right, so if I go back to the map here, you can see that his pink dot has now turned green because now it's a confirmed present species. I'm going to find a record that I can confirm as, say, as a state taxonomic plant confirmer, but not from my organization. So let's see, if I go over here to Washington Park, I'm going to try this unconfirmed record here. If I click on that, that'll bring somebody entered a honeysuckle bush. So let's go ahead and click on the details so we can see it. I can, you know, expand. It's important to remember to expand the records using that see more at the bottom. I can see the photo that they submitted. And yes, it does look like a honeysuckle. Oops, if I can get back to my record. Hold on a sec. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this. And if I scroll down, so you'll see that I don't have the many fields that I had editable with Steve's record, but I do have the projects, and I do have those confirming fields. So once again, I'm going to put my photo ID. I'll put my name in there. I don't necessarily need any confirming comments because they did pick the generic species, that Lonicera spa. And I'm going to hit confirmed. And so at this point, I can go ahead and save this record. And so now this one is going to be saved, and then if I scroll down, you can see the confirmation method and who verified it, which is myself. And so those roles are assigned by the jurisdictional admin, those confirming roles, and actually the organizational admin roles as well. So, you know, please let us know if you need some of these different permissions there.
Well, you want to phrase the confirming role? We're always looking for help with confirming, so.
Yes, yeah, you know, it's been, like, we have lots and lots of records of are common widespread invasives that have had to go unconfirmed over the years because it's taken so much time to get through every photo of garlic mustard and Phragmites. We've been having to focus on the more high priority species. And so we would love for folks to volunteer to start going through some of these common species and start confirming those records. It'd be very helpful, and we hope to work on a confirmers network as well to get some of that going. All right. And so some things to keep in mind, as we talked about the org and project, organization and project administrators, who within your organization should fill this role, and there can be multiples too. So you can have multiple admins for your organization. You do need to keep in mind that you will receive an email anytime somebody requests to join your organization or your project. Hopefully that's not very often, unless you have like a huge summer crew that comes in each year, in which case, you could proactively go ahead and assign them to your organization. But I wouldn't expect, a huge amount of email pouring in to necessarily join your organization or your project unless you're advertising it for, some type of promotion or event that you have going on, probably more for the project. And when you do get those emails, you'll need to accept them before they can enter data or, tag their data to that project. And you can also, clean up your staff list. And so for some of those bigger organizations, we have already started asking the admins to start looking through that and, finding out who's no longer with the organization so that they can remove them. They can always be added back later if they rejoin. But it's, something that we want to be able to keep moving along, and, it helps you kind of keep the record keeping a lot more clean. All right, so those are the main functions that I wanted to walk you through, those projects, organizations, and how that all ties to your account. And at this point, I would love to open it up to any questions that you might have. So you can unmute your lines if you have any questions, or if you have, I don't know if anybody's chatted any questions along the way.
I'll go first if nobody else is chiming in.
Yeah.
So within an organization, I can create a project.
Yes.
And within that project, people can belong to that project who are not a member of my organization?
Yes, good question. I forgot to mention that.
Okay, and then I can still confirm, so like Capmo Prism, that might want to keep their organization to staff, but they have a general Capmo project.
Mm-hmm.
Capmo Prism staff can confirm records for the project organization or not?
No, not for not if somebody has entered something into the project, but they're not a member of the organization.
Got it.